Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
What is going on? What is going on? Welcome, everybody. Today is April 21st, 2020. This is episode 11 of Pop Culture Warrior. This is a show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I am CQ, the pop culture conductor on this wild little ride. And listening in, as always, is my own personal spider bite, the voice of the unpop cultured, the amazing, spectacular, wonderful Mr. Radar. How you doing, bud?
What's up, buddy?
How are you, sir?
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little dark tonight. I don't know what's going on, man. My light settings are the same as usual, but a little darker than usual. All right. I'll have to pump that up later. But how's everything going, man? How you been? It's been a week.
Man, it's going good. It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
It's my stepson's birthday, so I took the day off today.
Oh, right on. Well,
so yeah, teach him how to shoot a bow. He's riding his new bike and shit, and yeah, it's been a fun day.
Very nice. Well, we're happy you're taking the time out to be with us tonight, and to get geeky as we do every Tuesday night.
Man, how things been with you? You always ask me how I'm doing, and then you're like, I'm gonna jump right in. How are you? Geeky boss tonight.
Nobody wants to talk about me. You want it? Yeah, listen. Yeah, you know what I've been doing for the last, I don't know, was it today's Tuesday? So for like 5 days straight. I've been trying.
Yes.
I've been trying to potty train a toddler. Okay, It is not going well.
When you got a little boy, right?
Yeah, I got a little boy, man, and he is a hellraiser. He is absolutely bananas. He's we've got like plastic all over the floors, and because we're trying like all the different methods, right? Like you just sit him on there for an hour and wait, and trying the one where you like make him run around naked so that he has nowhere to go, and all these different techniques, and it's just like he's a wild one. So yeah, that's.
Have you tried the Cheerios in the toilet yet? Let him pee at those. Have something to aim at.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. Like, the problem is not even getting him to aim. The problem is to getting him to the toilet. I'd be happy if we could just get him to the toilet and if it was around there somewhere.
No, but if you have that set up, right, where if you have it set up where it's like a game, right, they want to go play the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, like it's just like it's like me and you go on the range, like, hey, let's grab a rifle, go to the range. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing going to the range in the bathroom, and you just take him in there and be like, all right, shoot him up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like let them sink the Cheerios. Go to like, I don't know, whatever your local grocery store is. Get like the cheap ones. Get like the Grossios. Don't put money into it.
Honey-O's.
Yeah, they all float the same. And yeah, just drop some bombs on that. Dude, it worked. I had my son potty train. I'm like, oh, my daughters were so hard for me because they were like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I don't want to make you do it.
That's
Boys.
Funny. Everybody always says that girls are the easier ones to teach to potty train. Like they naturally sit down, but usually it's the boys that are the difficult ones. But that's interesting.
I think it's easier to have the girls not make a mess.
Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But awesome,
just put
man.
some puppy pads down or some shit.
That's what we put plastic everywhere, and it's a whole thing. We want like a Dexter kill room in my house, like just plastic everywhere, tape and everything. But yeah, no, this is awesome. Hey, man, we already got a crowd tonight, man. I love this, man. Thank you guys so much for coming out, checking us out, man. We appreciate you. I see Mike Larson, I see Wall Breakers, I see Camo Boss. We got Spanky in the house. We got everybody, man. We're rocking and rolling early tonight. So, and I want to remind you because we still haven't had a winner yet, man. If we can get 50 live viewers happening all at once right now, sometime in the next 2 hours, 50 live viewers, we'll do a free prize giveaway. Get you a hat or a shirt or something from the show. And yeah, so we're still looking for our 50 live winner. We got to 50 the one week, and then people didn't claim the prize. So All right, their loss is your game, guys.
Oh, I kind of message our winners through the week. But man, hey, if you want free shit, I'm not gonna like track you down, man. I'm not gonna
Right.
I'm
I
gonna
mean, that's
send
what I
you
say.
an email
Yeah,
or a
you
message. Be like,
try.
hey, you want your shit? Send me your address, whatever. Get a hold, answer me back. People are all freaked out on Facebook, like, who's this radar I was just listening to? Doesn't want to talk to me now. Like, what's going on with that? No,
And
I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm not tracking you down to give you stuff. I'm like the government. I'm trying to give you your stimulus hat.
so I just looked down just to see what we're at, like 60 right now.
Okay.
So there you go. Winners abound. I'll tell you what. I mean, if we can get to 100, I'll double it, man. I'll double it and send out. So yeah, if you want somebody in the background, man, somebody pick a winner. Somebody that's watching. We've got 50 people watching live. So throw in the comments, people, that you're watching live, so you win some free swag. But we'll pick somebody at random. And
so for free the whole time. That's right, buddy.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for hanging out. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. It's not free, man. You get an education here. You get a pop culture geek education on this show.
Right.
But yeah, so if we can get it, share it out.
We did for it. So, like,
Yeah.
someone there, I was like messaging me like, "Oh, you must make a lot of money doing that." No, we're volunteers. We do this for you guys, man. We do this for all y'all.
Oh wait, you don't
And
get paid?
thanks for
Oh shit, sorry. Oh,
Sure.
my bad. I didn't say nothing. But yeah, so
Seriously, do this for you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Seriously,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
could be like some consolation prize.
yeah,
You to hang out with us.
absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate you guys here and banging up the chats, and yeah, so share it out there. If we hit 100, I'll double the prize, man. We'll make it even bigger. So how what do you say? Let's get to this, man. We got a packed show tonight. We got a guest, guys. If you're here, tune in about an hour. We're gonna have Mark Baker. He's creator of Private Murphy, Charlie Mike Comics. Awesome dude. If you're in the army, you know the cartoons. You've probably seen the memes out there. He's fantastic. I can't wait to have him on and just pick his brain about all things, cartoons and drawing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so hang out with us. That I'm gonna make the social media banner go away because it's starting to annoy even me. But there we go. But yeah, let's do this, man. What do you say? You wanna get geeky with me?
Yeah, let's do this shit.
Fuck yes. All right. So first bit of gossip news here. And this is something that didn't make sense to me. And I think we touched on it. It was last week or the week before where I said, they have been filming, or they filmed Morbius, right? The spin-off movie of like the Spider-Man universe with Jared Leto. And it was about to come out. Like it was May something was supposed to come out. Obviously got postponed because of the virus. And then they said they're going to move it to next year, where they were still going to keep, was it Venom 2? They were going to keep that at the same date in like October, November. And that movie hasn't even finished shooting yet. So, and I said at the time, I was like, that doesn't make sense why a movie that's already done and that was about to come out is going to get pushed back further than a movie that hasn't even finished shooting yet. Well, it looks like somebody finally paid attention, because they finally announced that Venom 2 is going to be bumped back to 2021. So I think the original release date, looking through my notes, was October 2nd of this year. And then now officially Sony Marvel Studios moved the anticipated sequel date to June 25th of 2021. So yeah, adding about 7-8 months to the release date. And following up on that news is they've officially given it a title. So all of us that have been calling it Venom 2, guess what? It's going to be called Venom 2... Let There Be Carnage. So that is the official title of the Venom sequel. Did you see the original Venom with Tom Hardy?
I did.
What'd you think?
It was all right.
It was all right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll see Venom 2.
Right.
Right. But it wasn't like, oh, fuck yeah, we're going to see all
No.
I mean,
Trust your instincts.
I watched it. It intrigued me. It garnered my attention the whole time. So, I mean, that's basically what I asked for a movie.
Yeah. No. Listen, trust your instincts, right? So, okay. So you're not, we know you're not dialed into the comic book world and the stuff like that. But let me tell you something. Your instincts are spot on. The movie was, it was good. It was okay. Like, even as a person that doesn't read the comics and understand and the backstories and the connections, you go see Endgame, you're pumped. Like, that's a badass movie. Regardless of if you've seen every single Marvel movie to date and the backstories and read the comics, and it's still a good movie. Venom was okay. It was okay. It to me, it's very classic Sony Pictures. It's very classic Marvel movie before Marvel was making the movies. Does that make sense?
Right.
You know, because obviously we know, you know, starting with Iron Man, like Marvel said, fuck this. Everybody else is messing up our movies and our IP. We're gonna do it ourselves, and that's when movies started getting good. But you know, if you take out, you know, like the early Spider-Mans that Sony did, you know, the early X-Men's Marvel movies haven't been that great. I mean, the Blade movies were okay. 1 and 2 was good. 3 was train wreck. But you know, like a lot of these movies were okay. You know, if you go back further, you go back to the '80s. Those movies were terrible, horrible. You know, was it Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher, and you know, like bad. You know, you go later than that. You can go into 2000 with Halle Berry as Catwoman. Like there's been some bad comic book movies, really bad. And then you got a lot of okay movies. You know, the Daredevil movie that came out with Ben Affleck, and you know, things that were okay. They were good comparatively to what we had, but to today's standards, they were not good. So I love your instincts. I love your judgment. You were spot on calling it. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it was a little disjointed, a little murky. For me, they changed a little too much of who the character was. I'm okay with him being anti-hero and all that because he's done that. But, you know, the whole idea of like the Venom symbiote was like this nerd that got picked on, and he was like the runt when, you know, in the comic books, he's the alpha. He's this, you know, he's this being. All the other symbiotes kind of spawned off him. So it was okay. I'm hoping that they can kind of put the origin story kind of behind them and just make a really good Venom movie. They're obviously bringing in Woody Harrelson to play Carnage and Cletus Cassidy, so that guy is over the top, is saying it easily. So he definitely can play that whacked out serial killer psycho really well. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they're gonna get better. You know, that, you know, even the Marvel movies, you know, Iron Man came out, was great. Iron Man 2 kind of stumbled out the gate. You know, Thor 2 was, but they got better as they went on. So I'm hoping that we see that improvement with Venom 2, and then with movies like Morbius, and they're hinting at like maybe Scorpion's gonna get his own movie and all this other stuff, and you know, there'll be crossovers and Sinister Six universe and all this and all that. So hopefully that'll be good. Yeah, so that's that with the Venom. And yeah, you guys are lighting up the chat boards. I love it. Keep it going. What else? So actually staying on the Sony pictures of it, this one actually kind of came as a surprise to me. So I don't know if you would know this. Have you ever heard, and this is, I'm pulling from deep, so don't be embarrassed if you haven't heard of this. Have you ever heard of One Punch Man?
No. Nope.
It's okay. It's okay, because this is, you know, for people that are into the animes, into the things like that. This is you know, one of the higher known ones. Like, you know, like everybody knows like Dragon Ball Z, things like that. But you know, you start getting into One Punch. You start getting into of course, I'm drawing a blank now off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of them. One Piece and things like that that are great ones. My Hero Academia. So here, I'll show you a picture. For those that don't know, this guy here is One Punch Man. And now I'm no expert even on this one. This one's a deep cut even for me, to give you the backstory and things like that. But the reason I bring it up is because we've learned that a Hollywood live action adaptation of the hit series One Punch Man is in the works. Somebody say I'm not loud enough. Am I not loud enough? I can go louder. I can, you know. But anyway, so
this dude, I'm not sure how they're gonna. I don't know. I've never seen this. It looks like it's fantastic animation.
It's kind of funny.
Unpronounced.
It's a funny show. It's interesting is to leave it as it. The people that like this kind of stuff are the kind of people that will be like, can One Punch Man defeat Superman? They put him in the likes of like they match him up against Superman. They match him up against Hulk. They match him up against like the big heavy hitters. So even though he looks very mundane and pedestrian, like that's part of the kind of character allure is that he looks very normal. The idea is that his one punch can like beat anybody, and so hence One Punch Man. But yeah, so the idea, this is gonna be a live action. So what it says here is that a live action adaptation is on the works. Sony Pictures said to be adapting the title into a film with the writers of Venom. So that should give you kind of an idea what to expect. Scott Rosenberg and Jeff Pinkner have been given the duty of writing the script for One Punch Man. Avi Arid and the productions that he has, Arid Productions, will oversee production of the project, which is still in development. It's so it was back in I think it was 2009. It came out. It began as a web comic following the story of a hero named Satayama. The bald crusader looks like your average guy, but he happens to be the strongest person in the world, with the ability to take out any foe with a single punch. Satayama hopes to become a superhero worth admiring, but he cares little for ego. What the man really wants is to find a villain who is strong enough to finally challenge him. So he spends his time training a protege named Genos. So it really is a international hit. This guy is popular around the world. I mean, it spawned books, directed TV movies. It's a big hit. Mr. Nieves says if it's anything like live actions that showed up on Netflix, it'll be fun but kind of lacking. I agree. I think you have to kind of respect the medium in that you do the best job you can to adapt it, but at the end of the day, it's like you're never gonna get a faithful adaptation of a long running series into a movie or into even something like The Walking Dead, which is running 10 years, 15 years of storylines packed into seasons of a TV show. It's very hard to do, I think they've been close to the best that have done it. But the comic books, Iron Man, you can't tell me 70 years of Iron Man books and weekly stories have been sufficiently explored in the 6 times we've seen Iron Man in films, in the 3 of his movies, 3 Avengers, and like a Spider-Man appearance. They haven't touched on everything from there, so you kind of have to give it some. You take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? You have to take what they're going to give you and hope for like I said, the best, closest adaptation you can get. Hit the big points, hit the big plot points, and then be cool with it. I just sat down and watched. I binged on not the Umbrella Academy, which is a great show. Lock and Key, which is another adaptation of a graphic novel, and yeah, there's big departures from what they did in the books. Changing, power sets, changing the keys, changing the different things, who's in it, who's out of it, and that's okay because it's a delicate balance, right? Because here's the problem: if you make something 100% perfectly identical, then the people that love that source material are kind of bored. You're like, well, I knew that was gonna happen. Well, I knew that was gonna happen. Well, I knew that was gonna happen.
Right.
And then if you go too far off the beaten path, you risk insulting the people that are fans of the original work. Oh, you shouldn't have changed. This guy shouldn't be a girl, and that guy shouldn't be a bad guy, and this blah blah blah. So you have to balance those two outs. And like I said, Walking Dead has probably been the best case examples because they kept the major plot points, but would kind of move around characters, right? Like who died, who lived, who said what. So you hit the kind of big bullet points. But still keep the generally the same story. Create new character. The Daryl Dixon never existed in the comics. It's a new character just for the show, and that adds a dynamic. So that's I think a lot of shows are trying to kind of adapt that style, in that they hit the big points, hit the poignant points, and then mix in just enough different. I'd love to talk about what Lock and Key did. That was way different from what the books were, but that kind of would be a spoiler for the show if anyone's going to dig it. But yeah, if you're looking for a show to binge, if you've already seen Umbrella Academy, you've already seen The Boys, you like that stuff, check out Lock and Key on Netflix. It's really good and has already been greenlit for a second season as well. So, and I see Radar. I see. Oh, who's Kaz? He says One Punch Man's got CQ's haircut. Yeah. That's good. All right. I remember that, Kaz. I remember that. When you next time you go live, I'm gunning for you. I got you. So that's that. That's One Punch Man. That'll be coming. So yeah, what else? So here's a kind of I'm curious. So there is a story going around, and I want to get your opinion on this. AMC, the big movie theater, not the TV station, the movie theater, AMC theaters. There's a rumor that because of all this COVID stuff, that they might go bankrupt, and that they shut their doors March 17th, which is obviously over a month now, and that at this point they've furloughed 600 corporate workers, laid off 25,000 theater employees, have notified all the landlords of all the locations that the April rent is that they won't be able to pay the April rent because the cash reserves are running very low, Spanky says, fuck, I'm charging $75 for popcorn. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. So I spent some time, a couple of buddies of mine worked at theaters, and they always talked about how, it's hard because to stay competitive, they have to keep the ticket prices down. But at the end of the day, those ticket prices barely cover the cost of what the theater license out those movie theaters. You would think, like, the movie companies want it in theaters, they're gonna send the film to theaters, but like theaters are actually paying to get those movies into their buildings, and so the ticket sales, they said, barely cover the cost of having of playing those movies. So the only way they're able to make profit, pay rent, pay staff, pay whatever, is through concessions. I found out once, I was talking to a guy, and he's like, I was buying a slushie, and I wanted to share it with somebody I was going to the movies with. I said, hey man, can I just get another cup and I'll split it half and half? And he goes, no man, can't do that. I said, well, why not? I want to split it half and half. I'm not going to try to get like a free refill or nothing. And he goes, no, like, we make money on the cups. Like, the slushy part of it, they pay cents. It's like 20 cents for a giant bag of the mix, and they're making their money on the cups. So like, they'd rather give you or give you free refills than give you a free cup, just because that's where they're making their money. So just for those who want to peek behind on how they make money. It's Maggie says, they need to revamp the entire industry. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Tina says that they're on their way to join Blockbuster anyway. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because for years we've seen the trend towards digital. We've seen the trend that, like, in game sales, we've seen it in DVD sales, we've seen it in music, where the trend is to go digital, to push to the cloud, push to streaming, things like that. So you had to think at some point, if all the retailers gone, right, like the GameStops are gone, and all these other specific CD stores don't exist anymore. Music stores, really, some music stores, but not like CD stores. But you had to think at some point, the same way drive-ins kind of went out, that are we going to see theaters be a thing of the past, right? Malls are on their way out. Everyone's saying malls are going to be non-existent here in the next 10 to 15 years. So our movie theaters on the way out now, and I think this all is making that happen a lot faster. It's exacerbating the whole situation and really putting the pedal down to seeing this stuff move forward like this. So I don't know. What do you think? Theaters.
I don't know. I don't think they'll ever go away. I really don't. I think there's too many people who enjoy that experience for it to go away. But I'm kind of curious as to how they're going to make it work. I mean, I don't know. There's so much stuff coming out from the government. They're like, well, we're going to give all kinds of free shit away. So maybe they'll get some sort of bailout or small business loan. I don't know if they're really a small business. You know what I mean? Those kind of loans they're kind of divvying out and stuff. So I don't think we have too much to worry about with it. Now, do AMC theaters, are they a subsidy of AMC film, or how is that all?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think that they're related. I'm gonna do some digging on that though. Now that we got me thinking about that, but I think they're two separate entities. So I don't think the film or the TV channel AMC, was the American Movie Channel, is the same as AMC the theaters. I don't think, but someone out there can fact check me and tell me I'm full of shit. But I don't think. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm going to guess. I don't think that they are the same corporation or the same family entity. Spanky says the only movie I was planning to see this year was Maverick, and that was purely for nostalgic reasons. Maverick, yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise has been having a renaissance of his career. He's really been killing it with a lot of the movies. But we were talking about Maverick a couple weeks ago when he was trying to fly a F-17 or something like that. He was trying to get the Navy to let him fly one. They're like, no. They're like, are you crazy? F-18. Yeah, that was it.
There you go. I'm not trying to help you out too much. I'm just like...
You put that in a private chat. Don't correct me on live. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so we were talking about that not too long ago, and he definitely, he's having a good time. He's having a good part of his career. You know, nice bounce back from the whole crazy Tom Cruise thing he went through a couple of years ago. But yeah, so we'll see. I think that we saw drive-ins go, which is funny because right now drive-ins would be having a huge profit gain right about now if they were really popular still. Everybody be going to drive-in theaters. But yeah, I mean it's one of those things. Be honest. So Walt Breaker says, be honest with COVID-19. I think we're gonna all find different ways to live. I mean, look at us now using YouTube and all of our other outlets of entertainment. Yeah, I agree. I mean, here's the thing. There is nothing in this world that I think in a singularity that could go away and we'd just be devastated. Because if YouTube just imploded, we'd be on Facebook and Twitter and all that. If Facebook imploded, we go back to MySpace. I don't know. But there's nothing that lives in such a bubble, maybe besides, like, I don't know, our military. If our military just disappeared, we might be concerned. But no, the same way CD stores went, the same way GameStop, stores like that are kind of on the way out. I mean, we lost Toys R Us, right? Who thought in ever that you would think a thing like a toy store could ever go out of business, and we've seen that in our lifetime. So Circuit City, Toys R Us, I mean, you name it, they've gone the way of the dodo. So anything can go. And what scares me is, when I'm reading these stories about how Disney is in a tailspin. Disney is in a tailspin because they're losing like $400-something million a day. With the parks closed, with their movies not in theaters, like they are hemorrhaging money. And this wouldn't be typically bad because they always have a reserve. Last year, they spent nearly $80 billion purchasing Fox and all of its subsidiaries. So that ate up most of their petty cash, let's call it. And so have been living almost month to month. And now, with this, there's rumors like they could get bought out by like Apple, by who's it? It was Apple and another company that were kind of front runners to possibly buy Disney because of how hard they're hurting for cash. So that scares me because I love Disney. I love the products that they put out, and besides the Marvel movies and Star Wars and even the kid stuff. The kid stuff's cute as hell. The Frozens, the let it goes. But yeah, so anyway, speaking, I'm gonna tie this all back together. Speaking of Marvel, and Disney and all that. There have been rumors that while this has all been going on, that they're let's be honest, they're plotting the future, right? Let's hoping that they stay in business. They're plotting the future. This is a time for them to sit down. Everybody's home. Let's figure out scripts. Let's figure out things. But let's also plot the next 5, 10, 15 years of Marvel movies. That's what they've been running off of a script, of a plan for the last 5 to 8 years. And now they're starting to plot out the next 10, 15. So the idea is that they are going to, or they're looking at who's going to be coming, right? We know X-Men eventually will be coming into the Marvel Universe. We know the Fantastic Four is going to be coming into the Marvel Universe. The Submariner, Namor, the underwater, the Atlantis kind of, the Aquaman version of the Marvel Universe. And we know that stuff's coming. So obviously super speculation at this point. Nobody's confirmed anything, but the rumors are floating around that John Krasinski of The Office and Jack Ryan is a front runner to play Mr. Fantastic. And now I've got a little something to show what that could possibly look like. So we've got some different looks here at what John Krasinski could look like as Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. And now everybody loves the idea of his wife, his real life wife, Emily Blunt, playing Sue Richards, Miss Fantastic, the Invisible Woman. Which I think would be adorable to see them as, because they're a cute couple in real life, and then to see them on screen together as husband and wife, like they were in A Quiet Place. To see them in the superhero genre would be awesome. Now, typically, I'm like, there's a lot of people, and yeah, he definitely looks like it could be a good fit. The idea, though, is that he's even gone on record and saying, like, look, I haven't had any talks and this and this and that, blah, blah. But so this is why I'm saying, I think this could be really happening, is because he does this thing now called, I don't know if you've seen it, the Good News Network. Have you heard this? Mm-hmm. Adorable. Absolutely adorable. If you guys see nothing else, take a minute, go to John Krasinski's on Facebook and look up it's Good News Network. He's just putting out, he's like, there's so much negativity and so much bad stuff that, he's like, I wanted to just put out good stories. And so he's like combing the internet. So kind of what we're doing with pop culture, he's doing with good news stories, and positivity stories and uplifting stories. And so he's been doing that. He's on episode 4. Definitely check it out. But the reason I bring it up is one of the segments, he was showing fan art of people that had drawn pictures of him, and they drew a bunch of different things. And in one of them, he it was like almost like a comic strip, like a classic, like a newspaper comic strip where it was bubble bubble bubble, and he looks dead in the camera and he goes, I love this one because it's probably the closest I'll ever get to being like a comic book character. And then he does that, like that very Jim, from The Office, kind of tilt the head, look at the camera, kind of smirk, like, and to me, that's winking, saying like, look, I'm working out a deal to play a comic book character, but I can't say anything right now. So that's what it feels like to me. He was actually auditioning for the role of Captain America back when, obviously before, what's his name got it. So he's definitely been in the talks for superhero movies, and obviously Marvel likes him and what he does. So I could definitely see. I'm saying with a very good certainty that that we'll be seeing him play Mr. Fantastic. And if not, it's only because they decide to hold off for like another 5 years or 7 years before they even, like start filming. And then they figure, okay, by that point, he's kind of aging out of the role. And, because whoever they sign up, they're going to want like a Robert Downey, 7-picture deal. So it is cheaper. Actually, we had a question here from Tina. Whatever happened to the X-Men horror film that was supposed to come out? Did they ever make that one? So, oh man, that's a great story. The quick answer is that's called The New Mutants. It was shot. It was actually like one of the last things that Fox shot under their own before they got acquired by Disney. So it is shot. It is finished. It had been in like development hell. Like it was on, then it was off, then it was on, then it was off. Then it had the different director, cast, whatever. But like they shot the movie. They actually shot the movie. It's got to be going on like 4 years ago at this point, and it's just been in development hell. And finally had it ready, packaged, special effects. They put out a couple trailers and was supposed to be coming out this summer. And obviously, COVID-19 struck, and that one got booted to next year. So if you're a fan of superheroes / horror, check out the New Mutants. I wish off the top of my head I knew what was the date. I had it in my notes, but it'll be coming out next year for sure. Until something else happens, until I don't know, until the asteroid comes down to crush us all. I don't know. it'll be delayed again.
It's fucking May, so.
I was like,
It's so April, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh man, somebody put like, it was like, how could this get worse? And they showed July, and it was the scene from Independence Day with the alien ships coming in. And I was like, yep, that's our July. That's what we have to look forward to. So. At this point, so yeah, so that's Krasinski, and he's doing his thing. Definitely, I highly recommend. There's so much bummer in the world, which is why I love doing this. It's very uplifting. Let's talk about fun stuff, so definitely check out what Krasinski's doing with the Good News Network, GNN, no, Some Good News, SGN, Some Good News Network. That's it. It's great, man. He's got celebrity guests come on, and he does a lot of positive stories. It's wonderful. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit of something else. So we've actually talked a lot about Marvel movies getting pushed and their dates and different things. I've been asking, I mean, how many weeks in a row have I asked? I'm like, we still don't know what DC's doing. What the hell is DC doing as far as their movie properties? And so I compiled a list of the updated, most recent, up-to-date, this moment release schedule for movies that we know DC is working on. So obviously Wonder Woman 1984, that was kind of obvious. It was originally set to release like, I think it was this month, next month. They've pushed it to August 14th. Now, I find it fascinating too that, we last saw Wonder Woman in her own movie. It was like, I think it was the Wonder Woman movie was 2017. And then what was it? That was also the year. Yeah. Cause that was June 2017. And then they did the Justice League movie in like November of 2017. So last time we saw it was 2017. It's only about 3 years. If we able to hit that date. What else? Suicide Squad. So Suicide Squad is the sequel / reboot / retelling / not a sequel of the Suicide Squad from a couple years ago. I don't know. Nobody seems to really know. It's they're using some of the same characters. They've recast other characters. They're not calling it a sequel, but what do you call a movie that's called the same thing with some of the same people if not a sequel? I don't know. So it's just a movie at this point. But Suicide Squad, which was again supposed to release, it was early next year, but they pushed it back to August 6th. So that's the current date, is August 6th, 2021. The last time we saw members of the Suicide Squad was August 5th of 2016. So you're talking about 5 years from when we last saw them to when the next movie releases. That's a pretty big gap. After that, we've got The Batman, which was in production. I've shared with you guys scenes of what it looks like, the cape and the cowl, the armor, the Batmobile. We saw all that. We've seen behind the scenes footage of them shooting scenes for it, and now it's all shut down, obviously. Right now they're slating October 1st next year, 2021. And with that, the director kind of went out there and was kind of like hinting at, like, maybe it's going to have like a Halloween theme, right? It's coming out in October. There was a very classic story in the comics called The Long Halloween. I don't know. All Hallows Eve and The Long Night, something like that. No, Long Halloween. I don't know, something like that. I'm not as fluent in Batman, but very classic story, very good story. and then there was Gotham by Gaslight. That was a really good one. So they're very much going like original story, like year one Batman. He's just figuring it out and just putting his shit together as Batman. But again, I don't know how does this tie into that DC universe that they're building. It's a standalone story, the kind of way that Joker was. Is it kind of telling the beginning of how Ben Affleck's Batman was in Justice League? They haven't really clarified that, so we don't know if it's a standalone thing or if it's connected. It's like a prequel to the Ben Affleck's Batman. We don't really know yet. So that's coming. Black Adam, which has been in the works forever. For those that don't know Black Adam, if you saw Shazam, did you see Shazam, Radar?
I don't believe so. No, I don't.
Big red spandex. It was Zachary Levi. It was actually really good. Surprisingly happy, friendly, family friendly movie. Considering there's demons eating people, but outside of that, pretty family friendly. But it's cool. It's a coming of age, family, yada 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 kind of movie. But the idea is that in that movie they talk about like the original guy who was Shazam and how he went evil. But that's it. They just gloss over it. Well, what they were referring to Black Adam. He's like the original guy that had the power and decided to go bad with it. So they're going to flesh that out and give him his own movie, and it's going to be played by none other than The Rock. So that movie's been in development forever, and that one is slated to release December 22nd next year, 2021. So it'll be like the last superhero movie, literally the last superhero movie that comes out next year. After that, it's supposed to be The Flash, which is supposed to be June of 2022. Problem is, as I think we talked about last week, Ezra Miller has gotten himself into a bit of bother, a bit of trouble, and apparently choked some lady out outside a bar in like, what was it, Iceland or something? Reykjavik, Iceland.
Yeah,
so,
Reykjavik or whatever.
Yeah, so that one we'll see. But as it stands this moment, The Flash is set to appear June 3rd of 2022, which the last time we saw him was 2017. So it's like a 5 year, almost 6 year gap between appearances in movies. Not great when you're trying to put a collaborative universe together when you're spacing your movies out that far. The last two are kind of sequels to stuff we already know. So Shazam 2, November of 2022, and Aquaman 2, December of 2022. So 2022 is going to be a jam-packed year for DC movies if everything stays on track the way it is now. So yeah, we'll see with that. I don't kind of know what's going on with that, but so that's it for the movie news. So yay, we did it, movie news. We got through movie news. You guys are awesome, man. I just see. I'm trying to read the chats and like keep up. Like you guys are just going at it, so I love it. Keep it going. Have fun. Have at it. We're having some fun here. So we got a couple more stories here. Okay, so here's an interesting one. This again, DC, because everybody says I always talk about Marvel. So DC, I got another DC story. DC is always, they struggle with the movies, but when it comes to like TV shows and it comes to like the animated DVD direct to streaming movies, they do a pretty good job. So the latest news is that J.J. Abrams has confirmed he's going to be creating a Justice League Dark series for HBO Max. Now, obviously, most people know what Justice League is, right? That's your Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, pretty popular. Everybody kind of knows that. Justice League Dark is one of those series mostly only comic book people know, and it's the lesser known characters, the kind of characters that walk on the, I don't want to walk on the wild side is such a cliche kind of thing to say, but they're just a little more non-traditional when it comes to heroes. So here's a shot of a classic Justice League Dark lineup. So really Justice League Dark has to do with heroes that are like Swamp Thing, Zatanna, John Constantine, who had a TV show and has had appearances in Legends of Tomorrow, Dead Man, Etrigan the Demon. Those are the kind of people you find in Justice League Dark. They're the guys that practice dark magic, the guys that are walking the world between living and dead. Those are the kind of characters that they, it's Justice League horror. It's Justice League, mystical sci-fi, or not sci-fi, but like supernatural. So, J.J. Abrams, which love him or hate him, everybody has an opinion on J.J. Abrams, what he's done with the Star Wars movies and all the others, or Star Trek movies and all the other movies. We'll see. I don't know. What do you have an opinion on J.J. Abrams? Do you have a one way or the other?
Really, I keep hearing his name, and I'm sure I've seen his movie. I just don't. I know directors have a huge part to play. I'm not trying to be ignorant, but I don't know anymore. I don't know how much control they really have anymore with the theaters, with the studios putting so much money. They get what they pay for, and they know what they want when they find the people to put these productions together.
That's a good
point.
That
makes any sense.
It's a solid point.
Yeah.
Solid point.
I mean, so if the material that he presents is what they want, that's what they're going to go with, and they're going to get what they want. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
According to Mike Larson, he's ruined enough already, so I don't know. Sure.
As I said, love him or hate him, a lot of people have a very clear opinion one way or the other, if they know who he is, obviously.
Right. But, like I said, I'm sure I've seen his movies, and I've probably enjoyed him, or I've probably hated him. No, I probably haven't hated anything. There's very few movies that I watched that I hate. So maybe.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit.
There's some I get bored and just play on my phone the whole time.
see if this rings a bell. Let's see if this rings a bell. So he worked on the screenplay for Armageddon. That's kind of where he, started out. Co-created the opening theme of Felicity. Where's the deep cuts? Then he got big when he created and executive produced Alias and Lost. Those were kind of the big ones. That got him on the main track. His directing debut was Mission Impossible 3, which again, take it or hit it. He produced Cloverfield, so that's another one was his. And then what really kind of put him on the map was when he directed the Star Trek reboot back in 2009. So when they had what's his name, Zachary Quinto as Spock, and these guys, Chris Pine. So he directed that one. He directed Super 8. It was Mission Impossible. He produced Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. He did the reboot, the sequel to the reboot of Star Trek Into Darkness. He was the director of the first of the new trilogy of Star Wars, so The Force Awakens. He directed that one, and then came back to direct Last Jedi. He produced Rogue Nation. So I mean, he's that's kind of now you hear all those things, you kind of go, oh yeah, I get his style. It's there's very much a type. So they put on his trademark is high tech action packed entertainment. Is what somebody puts. Often includes a subplot about a box with mysterious contents. That's just kind of a running theme in a lot of his movies. So you start to think about that. You start to think about, okay, the Star Trek movies, the Star Wars movies, the Mission Impossible movies, lots of action, lots of dialogue, lots of intrigue, and what's happening next? And the guy says one thing, but then something happens, but I knew it was going to happen that way. And I get a lot of that. So we're going to get a Justice League Dark series from that creator. And I do think that it leans towards his skill set. Let me put it that way. I don't know if it'll be good or not. I don't know. He's definitely the kind of guy that has a clear vision for what he wants and pushes until he kind of gets it. Okay. So I totally understand what you're saying, where especially these big budget, that's why a lot of perfect example, Scott Dickerson directed Doctor Strange for Marvel, did his vision. He loved it. A lot of people loved it. coming into the sequel, Marvel goes, "We want you to do this." And he goes, "Okay, I'll do it." He starts putting it together, starts trying to do it in his vision, and the studio's like, "Not what we're really after." And so they have some creative differences, and he bounces. And that's when they bring Sam Raimi in to now direct Doctor Strange 2. So there are stories, like you're saying, where the studio wants a very certain type of thing, and they're going to push until they get it. But I do think there's also the kind of directors like a J.J. Abrams where it's like, if you bring him on, it's like you got to let him do his thing, and you're not going to get a lot to say about it. I think there's very few directors that have that kind of a pull in Hollywood. It's like a Steven Spielberg, where you're going to be like, listen, I know you're kind of a big thing, but I've got a real clear idea what I want, and you're going to give it to me. And it's like, well, then don't get Steven Spielberg, you know? So I'm definitely interested to see how Joe says he uses hella lens flares. That's kind of a staple with especially with the Star Trek movies. He did a lot of lens flare, give people headaches and shit. So that's that's definitely was a staple for his Star Trek movies. Please nobody hate me because I keep saying Star Trek and Star Wars and all that. Cause I know the difference. It's hard to say sometimes. But yeah, so that's that. We've got a couple minutes before the break here. I'll give you one last bit of news, and it's not really TV news, so I'm gonna make that go away. But it's sad news. It's news that breaks my heart. Okay. San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest pop culture gathering, the biggest convention in the world year after year, for the first time in over 50 years, has been canceled due to the coronavirus. It was set to go down July, I want to say it was July 23rd, I think it was set to do, and they've been really holding firm that they weren't going to cancel, and they have finally pulled the plug and said, for the betterment of everybody, they're going to outright cancel it and just, push everything back to next year. So that'll be July 22nd through the 25th of 2021. So you got to think, man, 50 years, starting literally from like some dude's basement to like a bigger venue, to a church ballroom, to like a little hotel. It was a Holiday Inn conference room. Like it's slowly grown into the massive mecca of nerd and geekiness that we know today as Comic-Con. 50 years, they've never not opened the doors, and so for it to be canceled is it's heartbreaking. I know if for those that are watching this right now, you know that the reason you're here is to talk about the kind of stuff that they cover in a Comic-Con. We get all of our greatest news, all the headlines, all the so and so is announced to direct, and so is creating this, and here's the first look trailer at this, and it is as close to Christmas as it gets in my heart. Is the time of Comic-Con, when you get your E3s, you get your Comic-Cons. Those, it's such a good time. It's such a good time because it's just a constant flood of like exciting things, new video games, new comic books, new movies, new this, new that. So yeah, I'm actually a little bummed, man. This is the one that really hit me hard, that Comic-Con, and I'm sure that you feel no way about it one way or the other. Wouldn't have even noticed.
It lines up to be the sad. Like, I'm sad that all this shit's canceled, that we can't have our normal lives. Like, honestly, like, of the stuff we talk about, most of the stuff we talk about, I'll probably go watch a lot of the movies, and you've already convinced me to watch the movies. But I would actually probably go to Comic-Con. I think it'd be cool. And this is, I've thought this for years. Is before you and I have started this Discord here. Yeah. I think it'd be cool as shit to go and see how much work people actually put into that stuff, and how cool it would be to be in that environment. Like, kind of a little bit of an inner nerd. I don't like, you know what I mean? I think it'd be cool. I've always thought it'd be cool, and I feel really bad that it's going down. It's another thing that people really enjoy that they can't do because of the Kung Flu. Yeah. And that really, it saddens me. It does.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, corporations, like, they'll tell you as they're breaking down Comic-Con, are already making plans for next year. Like, these
Oh,
are
yeah.
not things that they do like a couple weeks ago they started. Like, this goes back months before the first bat was eaten in Wuhan. They were already making plans for this Comic-Con. They were already building sets, laying out announcements, making, like, it's crazy the amount of effort that goes into one of these events. And so now to cancel it, which is, I mean, weeks. We're weeks. I mean, sure, you could say a month or two, but that's weeks. And we're that close. And it's heartbreaking. And the people that cosplay, these guys, like, you've never seen. I haven't been to a San Diego Comic Con, but I've been to pretty much every other convention. And these guys build, I mean, elaborate cosplay costumes. I've seen a Hulkbuster Iron Man where the thing was like 8 foot tall, and this guy's walking around in it, controlling it. Thing opens and closes, and like amazing displays of artistry and skill, and just true fandom. It is like nothing else you'll ever experience. I highly recommend doing it. It's almost impossible to get tickets to a San Diego Comic Con. But you can go to things like New York Comic Con and Windy City and Emerald City and all the cons.
Yeah, those is fun. I can't believe they'd be as fun, if I'm honest.
I mean,
I just can't.
it's a good time. It is, like, I've been to a con that was in a, like, abandoned Sears, where, like, it was a Sears. You went into the Sears and it was abandoned, and they just put a convention together, and it was a good time. Obviously, it's not the
sounds like it.
It's not the spectacle of a San Diego Comic Con, but it's people that have a passion and a love for things that are good, for gaming, comic books, video games, TV, movies. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff, and it truly is a good time. So Spanky's asking for the House of Dragon update. Oh yeah. So that's a thing. The prequel to the Game of Thrones that they announced. Yeah, we would have heard stuff coming out of Comic-Con for that. That's like pinnacle time for that. There's also a Dragon Con that much smaller, but yeah, no, they would have definitely done that. All right. Yeah. I hate to close this out on a bummer, but the good news is we've made it to break, and we're going to take a little break. When we come out of it, we got Mark Baker. I love this guy. Private Murphy creator, Charlie Mike Comics, fantastic dude. We're going to talk all things, cartoon, comic book related. Yeah, if you guys got questions for Mark, or questions about Private Murphy, or questions about getting your own artwork out there, put them in the chats, send it to us, and we'll ask him everything. We'll bug the shit out of him until he runs away screaming. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be right back after a short break, and yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
You got me staring out the window, 8 hours late and you're a no-show. fading out, cirrus shapes I found, blow me away, Van Allen right around, pushing through, skin is brown, nature has us trapped in fear, so I get lost in sound. I wonder if you'll ever know why I am the way I am. I've been thinking a lot about time and space surrounding. Is there anyone who is thinking like me? I've been thinking a lot about
Call the show now at 415-889-8367. The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey guys, we are back on Pop Culture Warrior here on WTF Nation Radio. I'm super excited. Super excited. I have Radar. Radar, you're still there, buddy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm here. I'm here.
He's embarrassed. He's quiet. No, I'm kidding. So we have Radar, but we also have our very special guest. So if you guys were sitting there looking at the "We'll be right back" sign, you saw the Pop Culture Warrior logo. You saw the guy ripping open the camo shirt, CQ on the chest, rocking the maroon beret with the Pop Culture Warrior. Well, my guest tonight is the guy who, amongst a million other things, helped create that logo for us. And he's a very special friend of mine. I'm so pleased to bring him. Everybody, please say welcome to Mark Baker. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show, Mike. And hi, Raider. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely, man. You're so poised. You're so I love it. I love it because when I think of you, when I think of Private Murphy, I think of this guy who says what's on his mind, kind of regardless of the consequences. He's very so let me ask you right away. Are you Private Murphy? Is that an extension of yourself, or is that an extension of the guy you wish you were, or somebody you knew? What is that character to you?
Oh man. Well, I think a little bit all of the above. It's a little bit of me. It's not really autobiographical, but it's a little bit of me. It's people I know, and sometimes it's the person I wish I was.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right on. So okay. So bad on me as a host for not giving you a more proper introduction. Okay. So for the folks at home that don't know you, and shame on them and your amazing work, I'm gonna pull up a couple pictures, and this is not one tune. This is a bunch of snippets of different tunes. But this is just to give the folks at home that don't know Private Murphy, this is just a snapshot. And now I don't know if you can see what I did here, Mark, on purpose, but I tried to capture Private Murphy through the ages, right? So going from the green fatigues to the deserts to the transitions to the ACUs to the just throughout the years, which I do want to ask you kind of about on the side here when we do that. But so obviously, for everyone at home, Mark Baker is he served active duty. Began drawing. I got a couple notes on you. I did my research. So he began drawing his award-winning cartoon in the early '90s while he was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And starting in 2000, the comic was published weekly in the Army Times for several years. You were you're a former 19 Delta Cavalry Scout, and then a 98 Charlie Signals Intelligence Analyst. You retired in 2007 from the Army as a Master Sergeant. Have I hit the salient points of your service?
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
I do my research, man.
My info, that's for sure.
I do my research, man. Yeah, I want to. Well, first, let me thank you. You're the first guest. You're the first guest that we've had on this show. This is episode 11 of the show. And I know you shared it out. You've been such a big supporter of me and the show, and I really appreciate it. And wanted to show that appreciation by having you as the first guest on the show. You've obviously helped.
Thanks.
Yeah, you helped with the logo and everything. So how do you feel? You're on Pop Culture Warrior. What are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty stoked. I mean, and I appreciate being your first guest speaker, or first guest. This is cool, and everything you've done here, putting up the comics and the intro. I mean, I'm humbled.
Oh no, not at all. For those that don't know, Private Murphy. So just to give my own connection to the material, I joined in 2003, and obviously I was a senior in high school when 9/11 happened. That kind of obviously kickstarted my decision to join the Army right after graduation. joined, and because of delayed entry, it didn't hit basic till January of 2003. And so went through basic, Fort Benning, Georgia. Went through airborne, Fort Benning, Georgia. Advanced infantry training at Fort Benning, Georgia. And so spent a couple months there. And I'll never forget that it was one of the few times in basic, like you didn't have anything. You didn't have personal items. You didn't have, like nowadays, people have like cell phones and stuff, and it's crazy. But you didn't have anything when I went through basic. And I remember the first thing that I held in my hands, really, that wasn't issued to me was a copy of the Army Times. And flipping through it because I was just so desperate for anything that wasn't basic training related. I was flipping through it, and of course, immediately the thing that caught my eye was the Private Murphy cartoons strip. And it was just instantly relatable, you know, because I was a private and he was a private. You know, this is obviously well before all the promotions and whatnot. But, you know, and you know, I saw the 5 points of performance, and I saw that when we shared that around when I was going through airborne school, you know, and all these different things that just was like, oh my God, I see myself in that, and I see myself in that, and I see myself in that. And it was just so good. It instantly resonated with me. So for those that don't know, like, you got to go out there. Mark, you've got the Private Murphy Facebook page. You've got the websites. Go out there and just eat this stuff up. If you're a veteran, if you're active military, or if you know veterans, or if you just want a glimpse, a snapshot of what kind of is behind the scenes, but behind all your fancy movies, your Black Hawk Downs and your Lone Survivors and, you know, American Sniper, like, this is a snapshot. This is maybe one of the closest things to capturing what military life really is. So first, I want to say thank you for creating it and doing such an amazing job and connecting with the veteran population the way that you did, the military population. And yeah, I'm gonna stop fawning over you now. Is that okay? Because I can't help myself. I'm gushing because it really means something to me when I see these cartoons. And you're still posting. You're still posting. You just posted a new one just earlier today. When you post these cartoons, it takes me back to a time that I was serving. It takes me back to a time of my basic and, you know, my infantry school and airborne and you know, going through those first couple deployments. It takes me back there instantly. It's a way that I connect to my service, you know, outside of, like, you know, it's almost like talking to one of the guys you served with. Every time I see one of the cartoons, it's like I'm having a conversation with the guy I served with, because it's like it takes me back to that moment. Very much like I have a bunch of tattoos, and when I see my tattoo, I know where I was at that moment. I know what I was going through at the moment. It tells a story. It instantly connects me. It's like time travel. It instantly connects me to who I was at that point. And so I feel that way about a lot of your cartoon strips, because it you know, you have those moments. So, all right. I'm gushing.
Thanks.
I'm gonna try to stop.
I really appreciate that.
No, absolutely. This is this is not me blowing smoke, because it really is, you know, it's something that was near and dear to my heart. So you have a lot of people in the chats out there saying hi. We've got it's always nice to be someone's first. That's very funny. That's very funny. We've got people saying thank you for your service. You got people saying hi and welcome back to the show, and you know, so you've got some fans out there, man. You can't say that, you know, a lot of people don't know about it, because you got fans out there, and they're happy to see you on here. I'm happy to see you on here. So yeah, man, I really do appreciate you coming on. So, all right.
You bet. Thank you again.
Woo!
Thanks for having me.
That was a wild windup, man. That was a wild windup. I've got nowhere to go now. I blew all my energy on that intro.
I want to see you again. They're asking you to take the graphic down.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't want you to see me crying here in the background, like having my memories wash over me. But okay, so for those at home, I know I gave you a little bit of an intro. Give you know, what's a snapshot? Give us a snapshot of your military career. What, you know, why did you join in the first place? You know, what kept you around? That sort of thing. Give us a little backstory.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I joined right out of high school, and I wanted to, kind of like the very first cartoon I did of Murphy going into the recruiter saying he just wanted to do Army stuff. That was that was me. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And okay, and anyway, so I signed up as a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout. So for the first 5 years, or 4 years, 7 months, because I extended, because my first duty station was Fort Riley, which was for this Arizona kid was cold and miserable and just horrific. I mean, you know, I'd grown up my whole life, I'd never seen snow, and when I got to basic at Fort Knox, that was the first time I'd actually seen snow coming out of the sky, and I thought, wow, this is cool, this is so crazy. And then about 3 days later, I said, you know what, you can have this snow. I don't want anything to do with it anymore,
Right.
you know. And so anyway, I did those first, like I said, 4 years, 7 months. I ETS'd, and I got home. I was going to school, working 2 jobs. At this point, I was married. I had 2 kids, and then I got a letter one day that said, due to presidential executive order such and such, you've got 7 days to get your ass back to Fort Knox. Welcome back to the United States Army. So I did that. So that was, what, 89, I think. Desert Storm. That was recall for Desert Storm.
Okay.
So, I got to Germany. We're getting ready to go. The ground war begins. And then 3 days later, it's over. So they start sending us back out. And I got home. I walked through the door. It's almost like they were been tracking me. This guy, the phone's ringing. And he says, hey, Sergeant Baker, I see you just got out. You just got out of the, you just got out. Do you want to come back in? And I said, yeah. Because at this point, I was financially devastated, right? While I was gone, I don't know what my wife at the time thought. She went out and bought herself a new car. She thought maybe, I don't know, maybe that I wasn't coming back, or I don't know. But we had no money. I was kind of, along with working 2 jobs, going to school full time, I was counting on my GI Bill money to get us through the month. Any case, I said, absolutely, I want to come back in. And he says, well, you can come back in. We have this new MOS. It's called 98 X-ray. I said, okay, what's that? He says, we're going to teach you a language. You're going to get this top secret security clearance. You're going to be doing this high speed stuff. And I'm just thinking, what, are you an angel sent from above? I would have came back at this point as anything. I would have been a cook.
Right.
And so I came back in. Now, of course, because I had a 2-week break in service and I was changing MOSs, I went from sergeant to specialist, which is kind of a bummer.
They get you.
And went to DLI, got to learn Russian. That was super cool. I wasn't very good. I barely made it through that. And then we went to a place to get our MOS. We had to go to Goodfellow Air Force Base. That's where everyone goes to get this. And I barely made it through that, so I got awarded my MOS. But the thing was, I didn't realize this, but had I stayed in and did like the BEAR program or re-enlisted for this MOS, I would have gotten a $20,000 bonus. But instead, because I had break in service, I got reduced a rank and I got no bonus. So as everyone's graduating, they're going up to the pay cage there and getting their check, their first installment of that 20 grand. I was just like, oh my God. Anyway, so that's that. I went to Fort Ord after that, which was just the sweetest place to be stationed. My God. And I'm only there for like 7 months and they shut the place down. They boarded up and we've got to leave. So initially they said we're all going to go to Fort Lewis, which also would have been cool. People went up there, they bought homes and everything. But then in the end, it turned out that wasn't the case. And they split us up and sent us to the Four Winds. And I wound up going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to 3rd Special Forces Group. And I show up there, and I'm not airborne qualified, and I'm a Russian linguist, and their AO was the South America. And I'm signing in there, and they're like, dude, you're not airborne qualified? And I said, no. I said, and you don't have Spanish? Spanish ain't your language? No. And they're like, well, what the hell are you doing here? And I said, I don't know. Just lucky, I guess. And they said, okay, well, you're not airborne qualified. Are you willing to go to jump school? And I was like, what are you kidding me? Of course. So 2 weeks later, I went to jump school, come back to Bragg. was just a great assignment. We deployed to Haiti for uphold democracy. I know no one knows what that is or has ever heard of it, but it's something that happened like in '92, I think. Anyway, and then from there, I just went on to other, like MI assignments. I went to Hawaii, another great place. Worked in a special place there that I can't talk about. And then from there, I got this other crazy cool assignment working for the DEA in DC.
Ooh.
Like when I went to work, I didn't even wear a uniform. We had to wear like shirt and tie. And then my final assignment, I was here at Fort Huachuca, where I'm currently living, not in Fort Huachuca, but just outside in Sierra Vista. And I was staff for the CG, working a staff job.
Right.
So that was my whole career. I mean, I did not deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan. I'm not a combat veteran. I'm just a veteran. I did 20 years, and I've been doing this cartoon for a long time.
Yeah.
And I guess that's my story.
No, that's fantastic, man. It really is. I know you've been on the station before, and I know you told your story a little bit before, but as I was listening to it, because I went back and I listened to it, I was like, man, Eder, he really downplays his service. I mean, for you to do 20 years, retire Master Sergeant, I mean, that is, myself. I had planned on making a career out of the military. Obviously, that kind of got cut short, but it really is a testament to I mean, obviously your fortitude, because a lot of people can't live the military 20 years. It's a little too much, but that's great. I'm glad that you were able to make it that long. And of course, we've got people already asking, so where did the cartoon come in? So let me ask you, obviously, I know you've spoken in the past about that. Drawing's always kind of been a passion for you. How did Private Murphy kind of take shape? And I know it existed before the Army Times version, as it were. So what was kind of the inspiration there? What was kind of the pre-famous, let's call it, Private Murphy situation like?
Okay. I think I talked about this last time, but it was while I was at Fort Bragg, and they had an underground newspaper there, Bohica, and I actually couldn't do cartoons for that because it really was an underground paper within the group, and they didn't want anyone finding out who was involved with it, and a cartoon would have been too easy to trace back to me.
Right.
But I did do cartoons for just guys in the unit and on the teams and stuff. But they're inside jokes, and I had stupid stuff. I had before Murphy there was a cartoon I was doing called The Duck of Death, and just stuff I'm really not proud of, and I'm glad it doesn't exist anywhere. At least I've never found it on the internet. I'm very happy about that. But so the first cartoon I did was the 5 Points of Performance, and it wasn't really a Murphy cartoon. It was just a cartoon. And the guy said, "Hey, you got to take this down to the Paraglide, that's the Post paper, and have them publish this." So they kind of browbeat me into doing it. I went down there. I talked to the editor. His name was Sergeant Bean, and I said, "Hey, will you publish this?" And he said, "Yeah, cool, but I don't want to just do a one cartoon shot. What can you provide me each week?"
Right.
And I hadn't really thought about it before up until then. And I said, "Okay, I don't know. Let me go think about it." So I went home. I actually didn't go home. I was staying at a friend's house, and he had a buddy of his come over. We were drinking beers. His friend's name was Murphy. And I was telling them about this, and then I just started coming up with ideas. And because I was there sitting there drinking beers with some people, and the guy that was with me happened to be Murphy, I decided that was going to be the name of the cartoon.
Right. Okay.
So that's where it started.
Right on. We're already getting questions, man. I'm like, I got a list for you, but we gotta cater to the audience. So Chad says, did your leadership ever take offense to your Private Murphy cartoons?
Yeah, an awful lot, as a matter of fact. I was threatened with UCMJ a few times. I'd have, and it wasn't just the leadership. Sometimes soldiers within the unit would take a cartoon. I was called into the battalion commander's office a couple times where, I was kind of like just a little bit dumbfounded. They're like, "Hey, did you did this because a complaint has been launched?" And I'm just like, "Wow, yeah, I did that, but if someone has an issue, I wish they would have came to me first instead of, still running to the chain of command."
Now, was it because they felt that they were being made fun of? Like you're saying this guy says this dumb thing, and that guy like internalized it, like, oh my god, he's talking about me. Was it that kind of a situation, or just they were taking offense to the material itself?
Well, I guess it depends. So the one time that this guy's name is Major Collins, he wrote me because I had done a cartoon about the beret when General Shinseki had
Right.
taken the black beret away from the Rangers and gave it to the whole force. And I did a cartoon about that. There's a little derogatory, and so he wrote me and said, "Hey, there's policies and regulations about you speaking out against Army regulations. I'm contacting JAG to see what kind of legal action can be taken against you." So I got that email and I was like, "Oh crap!" And I took the cartoon and I showed my wife and I'm like, "Do you really think this is that bad?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I think you overstepped the line," And so I'm freaking out about this. I went to JAG and said, "Hey, am I in trouble here or what?" And they said, "No, don't worry about it. Your cartoon's on the op-ed page of a newspaper. No, don't worry. He's just trying to scare you." And I said, "Well, he succeeded." And so that was that. And the other time, like I said, one other time when I was in the battalion commander's office was I had done a cartoon and it was just, this sergeant comes in and he says, he's talking to like a female soldier and he says, "Hey, Private so-and-so, you look good today." And she says, "What did you say?" And he says, "Oh my God, I didn't mean anything like that. I'm not even, you're not even attractive." And then she's like, "What?" And he puts his hand on her. He's like, "I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Don't touch me," or whatever. And it turned into this whole, it was kind of like an EO.
Right.
I thought it was kind of funny, but other people didn't think so. So, once again, I find myself explaining myself to my battalion commander, and I'm just like, okay. I didn't know what to say. I said, "Look, we wear this uniform every day. We took an oath about, defending the Constitution. This kind of a freedom of speech thing. I just think it's odd that instead of this person coming to me personally, they run up the chain of command so that you can squash my freedom of speech." And he was like, "Well, you kind of have a point there, but don't do it again." So things like
that. I can't imagine. As a person that just sat there and enjoyed the strip and sometimes the outlandish things he did or the outlandish things he did or said or the adventures he wanted. I never really thought about the kind of consequences that could mean for you. If you poke the bear in a certain way. Because he says and does some pretty wild stuff, and I never really thought about like that that somebody's gonna take offense to that and go, well, I have issue with the guy who drew it because obviously he's saying X, Y, and Z about my military, about my army, whatnot. What do you have maybe a go to as far as like the highest, like obviously like the president's not calling you or anything like that, but what's kind of like the highest feedback you got back from leadership, some brigade general or some where was the highest that your cartoon kind of got that you got wind of it?
Well, the two highest were at the time it was General Shinseki, who was the chief staff of the army.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say ran into him. I I was my final enlistment, in def. I was super lucky. I got to go to the White House, and there was like 100 of us that were reenlisted there in the White House by the president. Um, uh, and of course, so all the high-ranking, people are there. Sergeant Major in the Army, General Shinseki, and so I got to have like a photo op with him, and I asked him if he was familiar with the cartoon, and he said, "Oh yeah." He said, and this was after I had done the Black Beret cartoon. And he said, "Yeah, a couple of your cartoons sting a little bit, but my skin's pretty thick, whatever." Right. So he was cool about it. And but on another occasion, it was Sergeant Major of the Army Tilly. I had seen he had come out here and he had given a speech. I mean, I just loved this guy. Okay, I mean, this guy, there was no filter. He just said what was on his mind. There wasn't anything politically correct about him at all. I just thought he was fantastic. And during this, he had all the NCOs there in this auditorium. He was telling this story about how he had gone someplace. And he said he ran into this guy. They had the biggest head he'd ever seen. And he said, he tells him, "Hey, do you know who I am?" And he said the guy just looked at him, then goes down and starts going through his smart book or whatever. And he says, "Hey, soldiers, you hear what I said to you?" And he said, "I heard you, Sergeant Major. And if you were, and I figure if you're anybody that important, you'd be right here in this book here, So, so I took that story, I kind of did a cartoon of that, and and then I received a phone call. And it's someone on the Sergeant Major of the Army staff, Master Sergeant so-and-so. And he's like, "Hey, I'm calling on behalf of Sergeant Major Tilly." And I'm thinking, oh, shit. What have I done now?
You done messed up.
But he said, no. He said, the Sergeant Major, he loved the cartoon. He wants a copy. Can we get a signed copy from you? And I was like, hell yeah. And so as far as I know, Sergeant Major Army Tilly has a copy of my cartoons, which is cool, I think.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic, man. See,
so
how could you go and I'll let you finish. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
No, I just there's been some bad things. There's been some, but the good things far outweigh any of the bad things. And like what you're saying before, I never intended for my cartoons to be they're not statements. Right. So much. They're jokes, and I hear comedians say this all the time. Well, you should know because, you're stand-up, right? When you're telling a joke, you're telling a joke. You're not making a statement. You're not up there like giving a speech. You're making jokes, and that's what I'm doing with these cartoons. I'm joking around, and okay, maybe some of them go a little bit far. I don't know, but my intent is never malicious, and I'm never really looking to put anybody down. I'm just trying to poke some light fun. But whenever you put something out to a huge audience, which in its time Murphy did have a pretty good audience, you're going to get all sorts of reactions. You're going to get people that really like what you do. You're going to get people that just, they hate what you do, and by proxy, they hate you personally. I mean, I've had threats against me, not just the UCMJ, but people. And now, especially now with like Facebook, you put something up, it gives anybody sitting behind a keyboard, they can just write whatever they want to you, Yeah. And some people will write some pretty nasty stuff my way, but I shrug that stuff off. It's part of it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand, and I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, you can never take that stuff when you're gonna live in the public eye at whatever level that is. You're putting yourself out there for criticism and comment and all this and all that. Even if it's behind your artwork, you're not putting yourself out there, but proxy through your artwork, you are. I once had part in this. It was a audio documentary. It was just talking about the healing of comedy, like how that kind of helps heal the soul and things. And I remember one of the first comments that came up when it went live was like, "This isn't funny, 1 star." And I'm like, it's in the comedy section because it's about comedy, but like, it wasn't meant to be funny. It was like there's a couple of jokes here and there, but like I'm like, how could people take that? This is, it was one of the first kind of epiphany moments where I was just like, wow, man, there are just people in this world that that just want to poo poo on things. They don't care about the joy it brings. They just want to be negative about stuff. So, good for you for being able to, look past that and take the enjoyment of things and try to outweigh the negatives of it. So we've had a ton of comments kind of coming in. So I just want to catch a couple of them. Let's see. Sorry guys, I'm like scrolling through them now. But yeah, so okay. So here's one question: while you were in and you're writing and drawing, the question from Mike's is that was this all in your time, or did they give you time to work on this? And now I'm assuming he means when Private Murphy was being published, when it was weekly, when it had, a bit of a, I don't want to say a craze, but it had a following. It had people that were looking forward to it. Were you ever allotted time to do that, or was that always your own time?
Right. No, this was all on my time. As a matter of fact, I mean, it would cause some problems within my relationship with my wife and my family because, I mean, we're soldiers. We're going to work. You're going in at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 for PT. You're getting home hopefully at 1700, right, or later. So my weekends, my wife would want to go do things with kids, and I was like, well, I got to knock out this cartoon. I mean, I would find myself like getting up like super early, trying to get cartoon done with kids, and wife woke up so that I wasn't taking that time away from them. But no, yeah, it was all on my. It was yeah. This is I didn't work. The Army didn't pay me to do it now. But the thing is, I found out there are illustrators in the Army.
There are.
Right, and I saw a article in Soldiers Magazine about this guy who that's what he did. I was so jealous. I was like, get out of here. And I was, as a matter of fact, we were getting ready to do a jump. We're out on I think St. Margulies, and I'm sitting there. We're sitting there waiting for the plane, and I'm talking to the guy next to me because he's in psyops. And I said, "Hey, I just saw this story about this dude, Sergeant Allen, I think his name is, who got a job as an illustrator." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "You want to meet him?" I said, "Yeah, hell yeah." He's like, "He's sitting right next to me." He was sitting on the other side of him, and so I meet Sergeant Allen. He's like, "Yeah, man, you got to come over and see my." So, like a week later, I go over to the shop where he works, and I was still so jealous. I was like, "This dude, the Army is paying him to do. I would love to have this job." And he had like this setup. He had a airbrush and a drawing table, and he showed me the posters he's making for the Army and all this. I mean, hats off to him. He was a great illustrator and he was doing cool shit. But I was like, man, I didn't even know this job existed.
Yeah.
I definitely would have done that.
I want to say that I remember reading that like some of the earliest one, like Walt Disney was an illustrator for the military. Stan Lee was a writer for a lot of stuff that the military did. So there were definitely, stories of these artists slash writers who were doing more, obviously never meant to be combat or commo or cook or anything like that. They were meant for a lot of the publication stuff that the military is doing, a lot of that, kind of counterintelligence stuff. But yeah, and I think at the time, like even at Stan Lee's time and Walt Disney, there was one or two guys. That's it for the entire Army. But yeah, those jobs definitely did and do exist out there. So that's pretty cool that you got to meet someone. And we actually had a comment about that story where they said, what was it? Wow, wait, the guy was jumping and drawing at the same time. That's talent. So there you go. What else? Yeah. I'm like, I got a bunch of questions for you, but I figure, hey, if these people are putting in questions, let's answer theirs.
Okay.
So Wallbreaker says, dude, Mark, do you have any idea how awesome you are? Like awesome, awesomeness, awesome sauce. That's a direct quote. So there you go. You got
Thank
fans.
you.
You got fans out there. We've got the Doc says that is a badass accomplishment. The things that you were doing. Look at the smiles you put on troops' faces. Obviously, everybody's saying, you're the best. Comedy's great medicine. I got Jenny says, Mark, your work, your art is amazing. Thank you for sharing so many of your amazing stories with us. Look at that. I mean, and then of course the Marine comes in and he says, we don't have illustrators in the Marines because we would all just draw dicks. So there you go. there's the Marine take on it. That's the best dicks in the world. That's a knife hand. But that's awesome, man. No, I love this. I love this. I could talk about this all day. This is awesome. So I do want to touch because, obviously we're answering so many questions. I don't want us to run out of time, but you do have something else that I'm a big fan of. And I think you know what I'm leaning into here. You're kind of your latest venture. And I'm gonna pull this here from my own personal collection. It's usually on the back wall behind me, but I'm gonna come in with this right here. This is Charlie Mike Comics. You want to talk a little bit about Charlie Mike Comics? What was kind of the impetus? What was the reason for being? What kind of inspired you, and why this? And tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so the Charlie and Mike Comics, you're right, it's a new thing. I'm taking soldiers sending me their stories, and you know this because I've illustrated some of yours, as a matter of fact. I think you were one of the first people that said, hey, if you're doing this, here's some stories.
Yeah, again, let me just say, I follow Private Murphy for years. Never commented, not once, because I was just like, I'm an appreciator. I'm like, what does it say? Long time listener, first time caller kind of thing. Never commented, threw a couple likes, kind of happy faces. And then you put out that you had this idea about taking real life stories and animating them and putting them in a comic book and putting them and getting the story out there. And I was just so blown away. And actually, I'm going to share, I actually pulled the screens right from this book that I'm holding so that people can see your amazing artwork and the most ridiculous story. I sent you dozens and dozens of stories, and you immediately gravitate straight to the one about a pair of balls. So I just want to put you on the spot now for jumping immediately to my ball smacking story. And yeah, so again, while people are enjoying this artwork, what kind of led you to this point about coming up with this?
About this story about the ball sack, or in general?
Well, I mean, in general, and then the balls. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So really it was, I didn't know if I could, look, I'm an old man. I retired back in 2007. And so that's a long time to be removed from the Army. I mean, I still have friends, and I have, a lot of vets. Even some of the younger soldiers here on Fort Huachuca. But I really am not. I don't have my finger on the pulse anymore. So I really didn't think I could come up with any more cartoon, Private Murphy cartoon ideas. As it turns out, I have been able to keep it rolling, but I didn't think so at the time. And then I'm not quite sure exactly. I think I was actually looking at someone else's illustrations, and what they do is they illustrate poems and stuff. I forget the author's name or the artist's name, but his site was called Zen Pencils, and I thought that's really interesting. And I thought I could do something similar to that with real soldiers' stories. So I put out a call asking for that. Oh wait, no, as a matter of fact, Ken Warner, infantryman, Iraq, he had sent me a bunch of stories years ago that he said, hey, can you turn these into comics? And a few of them I was able to turn into punchline gag comics. But I thought, I could illustrate these stories. It'll still be kind of cartoony because that's my style, but and I could tell these stories. People, because it's going to get lost. People,
sure,
we tell each other our stories, but people don't write stuff down, and it gets lost, and it's history. And I think people's stories should be told. So I'm doing my small part of trying to capture some of these things and put them out there.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I'm flipping through the book right now, and it's just the artwork is so good. I mean, the stories are just so inspiring. We got questions coming in. So Chad says, are these just comedy or are they branching out? And I can tell you from holding the collection in my hand that probably my story is the silliest. My story is the comedy of it, which I see you tend to gravitate towards my funny stories. But there's a lot of really gritty, realistic, hard to sometimes view, hard to read stories that really capture the truth. Again, very similar to what you did with Private Murphy, capturing the truth of what service looks like, both the horrendous and the ridiculous. So, guys, check out Charlie Mike's comics. You got the website. We're gonna link it all out there. I know you have copies of the issues for sale. How many issues is it right now that were printed?
I have 4. So there's 4 issues of Charlie Mike, and I still have, I have so many stories to do, and I do have people submitting stories to me all the time, and they're spurred by other people's stories, which is great. There's there's not enough time in the day for me to get it all done, and I'm trying. But if people send me stories and you don't see them, I mean, it's not that I've thrown them away or I'm ignoring you. I just haven't got around to doing them yet. But I'm compiling them all. I've got a file for everybody that sends me a story. It's there. It's just it's a matter of putting it together, and it takes time. I mean, I can crank out a Murphy cartoon sometimes in a matter of an hour or whatever. But to do the Charlie Mikes, because they're multiple pages, it takes sometimes weeks to do one story.
Right. And I mean, I think the goal here is, if you're out there, if you're listening, if you're seeing this, you want to see more stories like this. I know, Mark, you have a Patreon page where people can kind of help support so that you can give more of yourself to the artwork and because obviously it takes time. It takes time. You need to be able to support your family, especially during times like this. So if there is a way for people to support you, correct, and show their appreciation and try to help you produce more content for us to enjoy, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, thanks for the plug. I mean, because honestly, yeah, I've got like 83 supporters on the patron site, and it's I mean, if you join, it's $1 a month, and it helps me out. Plus, there's exclusive content that I'm not, stuff that I only post there that I don't put on Facebook and so forth. But the funny thing is when I started this new endeavor, I had lost my job about like a year back, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a year. I have enough savings and so forth, and I can squeak along with what's left of my military retirement. And if I can get something going here, within a year, this is what I'm going to do full time. Well, I failed. So, I mean, I appreciate people telling me I'm awesome, but I got to tell you, it seems like every endeavor I've ever done has been a failure. But this was a failure. And just as I was like, oh, man, okay, I'm going to have to find a job and go back to work, this coronavirus thing hits, and now I can't even get a job. So I don't know if that's kind of like some type of divine intervention thing saying, nope, Mark, you need to,
buckle down,
sit at your drawing table and hit it for 12 hours a day, which I have been doing.
That's awesome.
Or what? But it just the timing was, I don't want to say perfect, but it was just, just as I was like, okay, I gave myself this amount of time, I didn't make it. Well, I got to stay home anyway. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's, I don't know, it kills me because, like I said, you obviously very talented. You created this thing that so many people love, and I want to see you keep cranking out these, not necessarily my stories. I mean, obviously, I love my stories, but like I want to see those stories out there because it's in a medium that's very overlooked, and we're starting to see better military movies. We're starting to kind of see military TV shows and things like that, but. To capture a story in the style you're doing, in the way you're doing, the realism. I know we went back and forth. Like people don't understand the amount of work where you'd ask me details and wanted to make it as close to the reality as it was. And which I think is funny because we had a guy put in that in regards to the balls in the picture, nice hair usage, but not veiny enough. So that was painting, and I hate to say this out loud. We went back and forth where I was like, I think it needs a little more hair, And I remember that email, and I sent the email. I went, I can't believe I just emailed this guy to put more hair on the balls. Like I can't believe that's a thing I said in an email. So these are great, and I'm a Patreon supporter of you, and I hope that the people listening out there are going to take a time and check out your stuff. And do you ever consider doing something like, I know Fiverr is a big thing where like I can draw you in an art style, or I can, like, I would imagine for you it's like I can you tell me a story and I'll create it in a comic style, like a panel by panel. And I mean, it could be an anniversary gift, it could be just a collector's item, it could be whatever. I mean, with your pedigree, I mean, there's guys on Fiverr making, whatever, 20, 50, $100 per little design of something, and they've got no pedigree. They're just a guy drawing in their basement. So I could think, coming with you and your background and the work you've done, and like, have your thing drawn by, a legendary artist, Mark Baker of Private Murphy. And I don't know, maybe I'm just spitballing here because I want to see you keep doing this artwork. I want to see you keep producing it and telling people stories and telling us Private Murphy's story. My God, we're running out of time, and I haven't even asked you the questions I wanted to ask you, which is a good thing. It's not good. You know what that tells me? We need to have you back. We need to have you back, come back soon so that we can cover all the other stories. I did want to share, like for those of you that doubt his skills, I was going to share this is personal, is a personal thing. You were helping before Pop Culture Warrior was a thing, and I was trying to figure out an outlet for my creativity and the things I wanted to do. I remember I was emailing back and forth with you. Me and a couple of my buddies were considering starting a YouTube channel, doing a gaming thing. So very similar to this pop culture thing. And I'm not sure if you remember or not, but you drew up a logo for us. So I'm going to share that just because the artwork has never been seen to the world, and I want to share it. Now, I'm not sharing the final version because I still think there's something I kind of want to do with it. I'm going to figure out a venture to use it, but I'm pulling up the original sketch you sent me just because I loved it so much. You took this idea and you absolutely ran with it, and it came out just phenomenal. So I did want to publicly thank you for that artwork, and I promise you I'm going to use it for something. I'm going to use it for something epic because you definitely put time and effort into it, and it was very much appreciated. So do you remember working on it?
Yeah, of course. I remember the final and with the dead man's hand and everything.
Yeah. Shh, don't say nothing. Don't say too much information.
Okay,
Give it too much information away. So I threw out the rough sketch because I still wanna use it for something because it is such a great thing, and you put so much time into it. Before we let you go, I know I tried to get you involved with like Wounded Warrior Project. Did anything ever come of that?
Yes, I went to Phoenix and I gave a class on cartooning.
How'd that go?
I think it went over pretty well. There were like about 14, 15 people there, and we all had a pretty good time.
That's awesome.
So I gave a class, and there was like a practical exercise. And if there's any chance that, I guess I could contact that guy again, but I'd like to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the organization loves, and obviously today's climate, it's a little different. But maybe there's a way to do like a virtual over Zoom, like, hey, let's all sketch and then talk about it. But it goes into, we had a conversation, and the fact that you want to give of yourself and help out others, and like it just speaks to your character, and I think that you're phenomenal. You're a phenomenal guy, and I do want to thank you. I had all these questions I wanted to ask you. These like almost like my personal fanboy questions that I wanted to ask, but the audience has been awesome. They've had a lot of great questions, and you've been awesome. Your stories are awesome. I hope you've had a good time. I hope you've enjoyed being a guest.
Oh yeah.
And that you will come on again. You'll come again sometime in the future.
That would be great. I'd love to.
Awesome, man. No, I really appreciate it. Guys, please, if you're out there, let him hear it, man. Shout him out in the comments and check him out. Mark Baker, you are an awesome individual. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll see you around soon. With that, guys, I'm gonna take a short break, and we'll be back to wrap up the show here soon. So we'll be back. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Exciting night and I'm feeling low, and you're the reason that I do so. I'll keep on drinking till I comatose, or I pass out on the floor. You got me staring out the window, 8 hours late and you're a no-show. Where I'm from, that's called a no-go. I guess I should have known. I'm sleeping with one eye open, hoping to make it whole. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my Remember when we used to lay in bed and talk the night away? Today it feels like you have nothing left to say. I pack my bags and collect my things. Take what you want, but you can't have me. I'm keeping my heart under lock and key wherever I may roam. Sleeping with one eye open, hoping to make it whole. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my own. You and me are heading for a disaster. I cannot ignore. I'm moving forward, you're moving backwards. I can't take anymore. So come on, you're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my own. I'm always in the clouds, looking up and fading out. Cirrus shapes I found blow me away. Van Allen right around, pushing through. Skin is brown, nature has us trapped in fear, so I get lost in sound. I wonder if you'll ever know why I am the way I am. I've been thinking a lot about
Call the show now at 415-889-8367. The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
And we are back. If you are still out there, thank you. Thank you. I know we are crossing the 2-hour threshold. And I promise we don't have too much for you guys. There's just a couple last stories to cover, and I just had to have a moment of what shall we call it, like a post-interview bliss, right? I'm in such a great mood. What a great conversation with Mark. He's a phenomenally great guy. Does so much for the veteran community, and just I'm so jazzed. Radar, like, I know you were quiet, but I know for a fact, because you're sending me messages, that you were enjoying that. What do you think? What was your take on that interview?
Man, it was great. It was great. It really was, and it was so fun. Like, when he was on before with Ice, I was co-hosting that night too, I believe, and it was just fun. Someone in the comment was like, "I'm sitting here Indian style, like a little kid listening to my dad tell a story," and that's how I felt. It's so, and I follow him on all those stuff and Mill Tunes and all that, and I love watching, when his comics come out. I get some giggles out of it, and I'll share them with some Army buddies of mine and stuff. And actually, I'm wearing a GI Low shirt right now as we're talking. So,
Nice.
all those guys are great people. Arlo's, he was fun too, and it's just fun to hear those guys talk, and you get a little background too. You like some of those, why did you start doing this? What brought you to this? And that's really cool to me to be part of that and to learn that stuff. So
no, that's exactly it, and that's why I want to have people on here as a guest, because it's like, it's great to celebrate somebody for, let's say you get an actor, like, oh, you were great in that thing, or a director, man, you did an awesome job on that thing. But like, I'm the kind of person that, like, I love the psychology of it. When I get a DVD or a movie, like, I watch the movie, but then I watch the director's commentary. I watch the gag reels. I watch the deleted scenes, because I want to understand what was behind it. What was the featurettes that talk about the script writing and the casting and all that stuff. That fascinates me. You know what I mean? How do people get into this business? And like, I had so much questions, and some of it, like you said, about the collaborations between, Sky Attack Comics and G.I. Low, which we're definitely going to have G.I. Low himself here on the show soon. We're working on the details for that. And Mark's still in the chat saying, I forgot to tell you I'm digging the beard. Yes, this is my quarantine beard, man. I said, if I don't got to go outside, I ain't shaving. So I'm glad Mark's still hanging around. That's how awesome he is. The dude did an interview and he's still hanging around in the chat room. So all y'all people out there, man, say what's up to Mark. Give him lots of love. It is, it was such a great time. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. We're definitely going to have Mark back again sometime in the future, because I have so many questions I want to ask. And next time, screw chat, man. I'm asking my questions. Y'all make your own show. Screw you guys. Y'all make your own show, and then you can ask all the questions you want to ask. I'm kidding. I love you guys. A couple more things that we'll cover, and then we'll sign off for the night. In a bit of gaming news. Gaming news. Yeah. Well, actually, before we get into gaming news, one other thing, because I know we talked about San Diego Comic-Con being canceled, which is hurts. But here's a booster shot of happy and good stuff to kind of boost you up before bed here. So if you have kids out there, all right, and they're of the little variety, like I've got a toddler, I think he's gonna get a kick out of this. So currently, right now, Disney Bedtime Hotline has been relaunched during this pandemic. So, and actually I've got something for this. Hang on. I should have been prepared. So close. There it is. So, adding to the magic of your child's bedtime routine has been made possible by Disney relaunching its bedtime hotline during the COVID-19 pandemic. Your child can receive a special good night message from either Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, or Goofy. From now until April 30th, call 1-877-7-MICKEY to hear the message. This is the third year in a row that Disney has activated their hotline, and they wanted to relaunch it right now, obviously, because it could be a tough time for kids. So definitely, 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 if you got kids, or if you're just a Disney fan, if you're like Spanky out there, and you just want to talk to Mickey for a second, pick up the phone, call the number. They will read you a little bedtime message. I'm definitely going to be doing that this week with my kid, and I think he's going to go crazy over it. Radar, you don't got like little ones, right? Yours are grown up.
My youngest will be 4.
Okay. Well,
Pretty little.
You know,
We've got a bunch. I've got them from 19 to 4. Just about everything in between.
God, you got a spread, boy.
Well, I don't know. Some of them are Mrs. Radars as well. But you know, hey,
that's true.
it's a combined family, and I think we do all right. We got them. Yeah, we got one just graduated this year, and then we've got one that's going to be a freshman, one that's going to be a sophomore, one that's going to be a junior, and one that's going to be an 8th grader. And then we've got a 5th grader and a 2nd grader in the house. Yeah, that's right, Spanky. Brady bunch plus one.
The radar bunch. Yeah, so there you go for the youngest. You know, who's gonna say no to a little Disney bedtime? You know,
Get her to go to bed.
Maybe that puts him right to sleep. So that's just something cool. I thought I'd share out there. I think it's a cute little thing that if you got a little kid like me, then that might make put a smile on the face. My kid's bouncing off the walls. He does not like being trapped in the house all day, and anything that can make him smile is going to make me happy. So use it, put it out there. So in some gaming news, this is kind of an early scoop, but typically Madden comes out every year, right? And they'll have a cover athlete. Last year was Patrick Mahomes. Year before that, I think it was like Brady and yada, yada, yada. And there's always like the Madden curse, right? Something bad's going to happen to the guy that was on the cover. Well, Patrick Mahomes blew that curse out the water when he went and won like MVP and Super Bowl and, yada, yada, yada. Typically leading up to a Madden cover announcement, EA will do a ton of marketing. They'll do a bunch of stuff. They're going to post about it and all this and all that. And it's kind of a blew it, but it seems to be that Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is going to be the cover athlete, and basically he said so. So what happened was during an interview or on Tuesday morning, 2 days before the annual National Football League draft, Baltimore Ravens star quarterback and reigning NFL MVP Lamar Jackson revealed in an interview that he would indeed be featured on the cover of Madden NFL 21, which is set to be released later this year. Madden traditionally chooses one of the best and most popular players from the previous season to be featured on the cover of the game, and Jackson certainly tops both of those conversations. So he's quoted as saying, "Yeah, they talked to me. I should be on the cover of Madden." He went on to explain that he wasn't worried about the infamous Madden curse. He said, "Like I said, I'm not worried about a curse. Patrick Mahomes was on the front. He won MVP, so I will avoid the curse." And just to clarify and leave no doubt, the interviewer then asked again, "You're going to be on the cover of Madden 21?" To which he replied, "I am. Yeah." So screw AEA and the way that they were planning on releasing this and announcing it, because Lamar Jackson just said so. So Lamar Jackson cover of next year's Madden. I'm a big Madden player. Do you ever dabble in the Maddens?
I'm not in a bit. I used to be like chopping at the bit, wait for it to come out, but it's been a hot minute. If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, I wouldn't have won our fantasy league. Let's be honest, he was a stud.
He was a stud.
Talking about football, Gronkowski.
I know.
That's kind of what I've been doing. Is watching this, I think there's a lot of potential there. I really do.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, earlier today, just a few hours ago, it was announced that Rob Gronkowski is coming out of retirement. This is the weird situation. It's even hard to describe, because technically he's coming out of retirement to fulfill his contract with the Patriots, who have then traded him to Tampa Bay. So he's technically coming out of retirement to be a Patriot, but the Patriots are choosing to trade him to the Buccaneers. And I'm sure, like, that was a conversation with him going, like, the only way I'm going to come out of retirement is if you trade me to Tampa Bay, because he wants to play with Brady again. But I don't know, man. And we conversed about this a little bit right before the broadcast, but do you think coming out of a year's retirement, and Gronk doesn't live, let's just say, a healthy lifestyle. The man parties hard, and had signed a contract with WWE to what they call it, like a developer's contract, where they were going to try to make him a wrestler, so coming out of a year retirement, knowing that he was banged up because the Super Bowl that they won after and the one he retired on, like, he had messed up his internals, like he was bleeding internally, had to have a bunch of surgeries and stuff like that. So knowing the injury, knowing the year off, knowing his age, do you think this is a good idea for him to go back and play football?
Yes, because it's Tampa Bay. Let's be honest. But with him and Brady are buddies anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Brady probably had a part to play in that. And you go down there, they actually don't put up bad numbers. They really don't. And he's going down there with like Godwin, and I mean, he's got some potential to put up actually a really good season. Mm-hmm. Because obviously he's going to be the starting tight end
if he can stay healthy.
He's going to, both him and Brady being new to the system down there, he's going to be probably one of Brady's number one targets. And they target their tight end quite often. God, I sound like a football nerd now, don't I? But they really do target their tight ends quite often down there in Tampa Bay. So, they're going to highlight Brady. They're going to have Brady pass, and Brady already knows where Gronk's going to be and knows his routes and their timing's on. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think it's going to be a really, really good – it's going to be a good high note for both of them. I think it's going to help their stats and help probably their last season or two at Tampa Bay is really going to be, it could be fun to watch. You said they're both old. I mean, well, Gronk's like 31, 32. 31, he's not going to be that old, but this could be their last season, and it maybe two out of them.
Yeah,
it could really be fun to watch, and it could really put Tampa Bay on the map as a team.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I am fascinated at the idea. I just Tampa Bay, and this is a pop culture thing, so we're not going to talk about sports too much. But real quick, Tampa Bay has, in the past years, been a team that struggled to protect their quarterback. And I'm talking before Jameis Winston. Like, they were like always like top in the league and like getting sacked. And then they get Jameis Winston, and they became kind of more of a mobile quarterback team and built kind of a line around that ideal of getting the quarterback out of the pocket and moving around. So now to take Brady, who is like the quintessential stay in the pocket, pocket passer, classic QB. I'm curious to see how they hold up. Like, does he get hit more than when he was in New England? Does he make it a full season? So I don't know. Well, lots of questions. I joked with somebody this year. I said, this year more than any other year, I feel is going to look like one of those created franchises in Madden where like players are just know where they would typically be. There's just a lot of that. Everybody just moving everywhere. Whole teams are picking up and moving to other places.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be a wild. And then you throw in like this weird. We're not going to see a lot of the typical, off-season stuff that we did and preseason stuff that we do because of the whole COVID-19. This whole football season is going to be weird. It's going to be real weird. Yeah.
Well, that's just it, too. Like, are we even going to have a season? The Holocaust might cancel that or take out. They might have a partial season, or they might – I was reading something. They might just, like, play football and not have fans in the stadium. Yeah. There's so many different things we're talking about, too. And it's just going to be – it's one more yeah. The fucking Holocaust fucking tear everybody up. Yeah. And then it's so different. I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. It's so cool, though. It's so much like we can do this, but not. And I don't know. I do like that analogy, though, where it's like, no, it's like a Madden team. People are just throwing shit around.
Yeah.
It's great. It really is.
Me and my buddies, we'll play Madden, and like, you get 3 or 4 years in, and like we're trading players, and players are nowhere where they should be, and like retiring in other teams, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Actually, one of our leagues, it was funny because we started playing last year, and obviously everybody knows that Andrew Luck retired like right out the gate before the season even started. But in Madden, obviously he was still there. He went like 12 more seasons. It was ridiculous. This like the Madden version of him would not retire. He was like 46 and like the third string quarterback for I don't know, the Buffalo Bills or something. It was crazy. But yeah, it shows you the ridiculous nature of that. But it looks like.
But you know what though? If you'd asked me this time last year, was this Brady's last year? I said yeah.
Right.
Honestly, I didn't think we'd be talking about Brady going anywhere. I would have figured he would have retired out of New England and been done. So
somebody must be a Gronk fan, because Stephanie's out there correcting us. Gronk, born May 14, 1989, age 30. So I apologize if I've upset any of the Gronk fans.
I wasn't invited to the party. I didn't know what birthday was.
Gronk Nation out there. But yes. Also, Stephanie says Oktoberfest has been canceled in Germany. That's it's serious when they're canceling Oktoberfest.
What? Yeah.
That's definitely one. Stephanie also says Formula One started having their races done by having the drivers play video games. That would be interesting. That'd be interesting. Like virtually, like everybody gets VR headsets and then they're like all driving, and we're like, imagine like esports becomes the new sports that we watch. It's guys playing Madden instead of watching the football season, and
it's a bunch of old fat guys like me fucking driving Formula One cars and shit.
There you go.
Or playing. Oh, yeah. I'm the new goalie for the Blackhawks or some shit.
Sorry, not Stephanie 1. I apologize. My screen's very tiny. It's Stefan 1. My bad. It's very close. My screen's the chat's this big, so I apologize. Stefan 1. But yeah. So away from sports. Last bit of news, man. So here's a rumor that I found very interesting, because we know new consoles are right on the horizon, right? We know PS5 is launching. We know Xbox One Series X, ... whatever it's going to be called, is coming. We've seen the full specs of both. We've seen the controllers for both, but we've only seen the body of the Xbox. They're still hiding the body of the PlayStation, which I think is weird. But whatever. The bit of news that's interesting is there's a rumor that Microsoft, while releasing the Xbox Series X, which is going to be their platform, ship, it's going to be huge. It's going to be the big thing. There's a rumor that it's not the only thing they're going to be releasing this year, and that we're going to find out very soon, possibly in May, that they're going to release a budget version of the next series Xbox. So very much like when they released the Xbox One and the Xbox One X, they released a trimmed down version called the Xbox One S. Very much like when you see, your iPhone 5 and then iPhone 5S. So it's going to be, the report states that the budget console is currently being developed under the name Lockhart, and it aims at being an entry point for next generation gaming. So it's expected to replace the need of the Xbox One X. So the highest end version you have now is the Xbox One X. So this would be better than that one, but not quite at the level of the top tier one, which is the Xbox One Series X. Gotta come up with better names. So like the current Xbox One X would be a similar price range of this new Xbox One Series S, as it's possibly could be called. So it's, while still being affordable, the new console is rumored to include some of the elements that the Series X is going to bring, just not like the full package. It's believed that the Xbox is planning to unveil Lockhart in all of its glory sometime in May. So if it's true, we'll be talking about it right here, because I find that very fascinating. There's not a lot of companies that are going to go through the process of releasing basically two consoles at the same time. It's it's one of those things that like I can't even put it into a concept. I guess it's almost like if you were to buy a car and you've got like the XLE limited edition supercharged turbo edition and then like the four-door sedan version that has like no bells and whistles. I guess that's the analogy, right? That's the equivalent of this. Like you can go for the high-end version, fully decked out, full, engine, everything roaring and good to go with all the tech, and then you have the entry level version where you're just like, I need something that can get me to go. What do you think? What do you think? Do you if I were to convince you to buy into this, would you be buying in at that top tier level, or would you be coming in at like the entry level?
Me personally, I'm coming in top tier, but but I'm an adult. You know what I mean? Like, I'll make my money, son. But you look at, okay, my kids, right? Basically all I do is play Fortnite on anyway, or Minecraft. I would probably look at something like that. They're gonna spill a Mountain Dew on it. They're gonna whatever, maybe look at that kind of the poverty version, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. The trimmed down,
the standard.
The standard, yeah. And then I'm not saying I live in the lap of luxury, but I'll pay an extra $100 for the better Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have a feeling. I have a feeling the difference between the standard versus the XL, the top tier, is gonna. If I'm guessing, $200 to $300 difference is what I'm guessing between the top. Otherwise, why even bother separating it, right? If it's a $50 difference, why even have two different tiers?
Right.
Even within that $100.
What is it? $200? Is it worth the $200 or $300 difference? Is the question.
Right.
If the new one's going to be $300 and the big one's going to be $600,
yeah.
Is it going to have this? Is it going to have $600 worth of gameplay in it? I guess is kind of my question. If it's going to be like a little bit better, I'm not paying extra for it. But if it's going to be leaps and bounds better, the graphics are going to be amazing and all these other things. Where the other one basically has the same graphics as the Xbox One has now, but it's going to be compatible with the new system. You're going to put the same games as the new system. You're going to have all of these things. Is it going to be that much better?
Right.
I don't know.
I guarantee
I think there's a lot they can do with these consoles now, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah.
So
what I think is that the one that they're going to release, if this is true, the one that they're going to release that's just marginally better, lets you play obviously all the new games. It'll be at current standard, because even like the Xbox Series or Xbox One X that's out now is already, technology's already surpassed that. So I feel like the standard one is going to be like today's tech, maybe tomorrow's tech, whereas the Xbox One Series X, the max version, I think they're future-proofing it, right? They're full-on storage, upgradable storage. What was it? What did he say? 12 teraflops of power and this and this and that. They're talking about that it'll day one, it'll be ready to play 8K games that haven't even been invented yet. So that's the idea, is that you're buying into this future thing, where a lot of guys are just getting the 4K TVs. We're not even getting like TV channels in 4K yet. So at best you're getting movies in 4K. So now you're going to, with the system pushing the 4K towards 8K, the TV's pushing 4K and soon 8K, that's going to become the industry standard. I think that's what you're doing, is you're investing in into the future of your tech and your home tech and what it can do. But I don't know.
Look at look how long the 360's been around.
Yeah.
If you could, there's still people that play the fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you invest into something like the big ones, the $600-700 whatever, we'll even say $1,000, but you never have to buy another one again, or you're going to buy another one for 10 years.
Yeah,
it might be worth it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. I know guys that, not really on the Xbox 360, but they're still on their Xbox One, like day one edition, that they're still plugging around that thing, even though there's the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. So they're still rolling that out. It's one of those things. But all right, guys, we've we have held you long enough. Thank you, all of you, for sticking with us through all this. And for we had our first guest today. Covered lots of great stories. Phenomenal show. And so typically I do have a comedy clip to show you guys at the end of a show. I figured since we have a guest and I knew we were gonna run a little bit late because of it. We're not gonna do a comedy clip tonight, but you got a guest, so that's good trade-off. So before we sign off, Radar, why don't you do your thing, man, and let the people know what's going on with the WTF.
Well, tonight you've been listening with our fabulous guest, Mark Baker. He came on for us. But you've been listening to CQ and I on, I keep wanting to say Tied Up Tuesdays, Pop Culture Warrior on Tuesdays. Then Wednesdays we have a night off. And then Thursday night you're going to come back with Spanky and Ice on Sergeant's Time. That's going over a big Army Holocaust issues and everything else that's going on. They're going to keep you up to date on that stuff. And then Friday we have a night off. Saturday we have another Dawn's a Day. Oh, I don't know if Spanky's still here or not. She loves that word. And then Sunday night, you got Kicking It with Cos. Cos and L, Team Old will be there to kind of keep you up to date on all their fun stuff. And they've got a pretty good show. You should go check them out. And then Monday night, you got the Monday edition, kind of the flagship show with Ice and Flash. And they'll be talking all things current events and all kinds of fun stuff. They usually, Flash will go on a rant about something. And then you come back to us on Tuesdays.
That's right. Oh, what a jam-packed show we had. Don't forget our major socials here. Look us up, find us, and chat with us. I do want one last announcement, too, is that very excited. We just had our first guest. Guess what? Next week, we have our second guest. And this guy is another phenomenally awesome person that I am very happy is going to be on the show. Phenomenally funny comedian PJ Walsh is going to be on the show next week. He is so funny, so talented. He's a Navy vet. He tours the country. He's played in Iraq and Afghanistan doing comedy there. We're going to have him on the show. We're going to talk about all the infamous stories like him. He was a dentist in the Navy, and him performing oral.
Performing oral, to stop there. You don't have to go any further.
On the president, on Bill Clinton, he performed oral, whatever it is you want to call it. I don't know, what do dentists do? He did oral stuff to Bill Clinton.
Blue dress. Sorry about it.
I'm sorry. Just because as I was coming out, like it just. Oh man. Anyway, we're gonna talk about all that fun stuff. He's a phenomenally funny guy. I can't wait to talk to him and share that with you guys. But yeah, you guys have been listening to Pop Culture Warrior. I'm CQ. My co-host Radar, guest Mark Baker. Next week, stay tuned for PJ Walsh. We will see you next time, guys. Take it easy. Shots.
Very prolific tweeter. Everyone, please welcome to the stage Stephanie Klein.